Hello students, let's begin our today's session. Topic: Degrees of comparison. What is meant by degrees of comparison? It is a form of an adjective that indicates a different degree of qualities that the adjective denotes. So before knowing more about the degrees of comparison, let us first revise what is an adjective, which will help us to understand more about degrees of comparison. So let's see what exactly is an adjective. It is a word that describes or modifies the noun and pronoun. Here again, for understanding adjective, we need to revise what is a noun. So a noun is a word that contains name of a person, place, animal and thing. We in the example here we have thing and person. Okay. Now what is an adjective? Okay, here. Let's see the words which describes more about the noun. So a car, which word describes more about car? It is big. And about the girl, it is pretty. So the word big and pretty tells us more about the noun. Like how is the car? The car is big. How is the girl? The girl is pretty. So the word big and pretty are the adjectives which tells us or describes more about the noun. Now, let's move to the degrees of comparison. In the definition previously, it is said that it tells us about the different levels of qualities of degrees of comparison. So there are different levels of degrees of comparison. So there are different, means there are total three levels of degrees of comparison. Let's see one by one. First one is positive degree, second one is comparative degree, and the third one is superlative degree. Now, what do you mean by positive degree? It is used to describe, not to compare. What is meant by comparative degree? It is used to compare two things. And what is meant by superlative degree? It is used to compare with more than two things and tell us which is the highest one. Let's see the examples of degrees of comparison. Ram is strong. Next, Amit is stronger than Ram. Next, Praveen is the strongest of all. So, in the first sentence, we find strong is an adjective and it doesn't compare anything, but it only describes how Ram is. So, it is a positive degree. In the next sentence, Amit is stronger than Ram. So, stronger is an adjective which compares Amit and Ram. So, therefore, it is an comparative degree. In the third, strongest is again an adjective, but here it doesn't compare two things, but it compares more than two things and tells us who is the highest. And therefore, it is a superlative degree. Now, I hope you are cleared with the positive, comparative, and superlative degree. Now, let's see the rules for formation of comparative and superlative degree. So, the first rule is at the end of positive word, we generally add er for comparative and est for superlative. So, this is a general rule. When you want to change a positive word, a positive degree word to comparative or superlative, we add er in comparative and est in superlative. This is a general rule. For example, positive word. See, for example, long. So when we change long into comparative, it becomes longer. And when we change into superlative, it becomes longest. Next is bold, bolder, boldest, fast, faster, fastest. Let's move to the second rule. When positive degree word ends with E, then we add R for comparative and ST for superlative. Let's see the example. For example, fine. So when the word fine ends with the word e, so when the positive word ends with e, we add in the comparative, that is finer, and we add st in the superlative, that is finest. See, more example we'll see pure, purest, and pure, purer and purest, close, closer and closest. Let's see the next rule. When positive degree word ends with y, then y is changed to I before adding er for comparative and est for superlative. Let's see the example. Happy. So happy is a positive word which ends with y. Now when we change that into comparative, instead of y we have to add I, and then we have to add er. Same thing in the superlative also, we have to change y to I and add est. So it will be called as happy, happier, happiest, dirty, dirtier, dirtiest, lovely, lovelier, loveliest. Next, next. When a positive degree word ends with a consonant but also have a vowel letter before it, then consonant is doubled before adding er in comparative and est in superlative. So let's see what does it mean with the help of example. See the first example now, hot. So T is a consonant, but before that, what is there? O. O is a vowel. So when a letter starts with a vowel and ends with a consonant, then the last letter, the last word over the letter, that is consonant, is doubled, and then we add er in comparative and est in superlative. For example, hot, hotter, hottest, sad, sadder, saddest, thin, thinner, thinnest. Next, some adjectives have more than two syllables. That time we have to use more in comparative and most in superlative. So let's see what does it mean with the help of example. Now see beautiful. So the word beautiful is divided into three syllable. Beautiful. Okay, so there is not one syllable or two, but it is more than two syllables. So that time we have to use the word more in comparative and most in superlative. For example, beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful, studious, more studious, most studious, faithful, more faithful, most faithful. Next, that is the last rule. When we have irregular adjectives, the general rule changes. So where there are irregular adjectives, the general rule changes. So what is the general rule? Rule that when it is comparative, we have to add er, and when it is superlative, we have to add est. But since the adjectives are irregular, so that rule is not applied. So then what we have to do, let's see in the example. So see, irregular adjective is good. So when good is there, we cannot write gooder or goodest, but we have to write it as good, better, best, many or much, more and most, little, less than lesser, least. I hope you're cleared with this basic concept of degrees of comparison and their rules. Thank you.